Well, I'd like to thank John Conover for joining us today from Atlas Copco. And John is out filming something for WebTech, as a matter of fact. And Paul Humphreys, who was going to join us, is right involved in the filming right now. You might even tell us before we get started, John, what you're doing down there in Rock Hill.
Right, we're filming more of a product video, but to bring the features and benefits of the machine out into sort of a 3-minute YouTube sort of style video. Now this will also serve as a backdrop video that's used in our display booth at the upcoming WebTech show.
And you're going to be at stand 1151 there at WebTech, I believe.
That's right, yep. And so that customers, if we get real busy and are talking to so many people, people could view the video or take a look at the machine on a bigger screen, in addition to walking through the machine at the show.
Oh, that sounds, yeah. I think you had quite a bit on display in terms of machinery last year, as I recall, or 2 years ago anyway.
Right. We featured our ZS rotary screw blower. It was just coming into the market in the U.S. At that time. And this year we'll have a couple more frames, a larger one and a smaller one at WebTech. The interest in the product is such that people are looking for bigger flow and then a little bit smaller flow than our first models that were released a few years ago.
Yeah. Well, as you point out right here, when you're 30% more energy efficient, that means a lot. I mean, energy is the big cost these days, and it's even going to get worse if we get greenhouse gas trading and so forth.
That's right. We're finding, at least in the testing we've done, and then we verify it in the field, 30% is just sort of a nominal number that's used. What we find, though, is we can actually get even better efficiency out of an installed system. Partly it's because the rotary screw has a wider operating range. That is, I can go 100% down to around 25%. And I don't lose part load efficiency in the machine. I have a near linear relation between flow and power consumed across that operating range of the equipment. Whereas traditional technology, as you slow it down, your slip losses go up. Therefore, the percentage of flow as related to slip gets a little bit out of whack. So your part load inefficiency gets higher with the rotary lobe technology. So those combined with upgraded controls, fine bubble diffusion and aeration, we're able to achieve actually much, much better efficiency than the promised 30%.
Well, that's even more impressive. Well, let's talk about some details. Where would you suggest we go first on the website? We could read the full story or go into the screw versus lobe, or you tell us where it might be.
Yeah, I think probably the new ZS range. If people wanted to start, they could start on that tab, which is the second one over.
Yeah, okay.
And then jumping to the features and benefits section, we'll talk about how the package is built.
Okay.
So it just a quick run through that talks about the range of machines that are available, the different pressure variants, and that we package the machinery kind of complete, much like we've done in air compressors. You get a gray box, set it on the floor, hook up your utilities, and then connect it to your plant control system. So everything you need in terms of the electrical, plumbing, wiring, everything else in the box is fitted at our factory and tested before we ship it. And what that sets us up for is, at least in installation, it goes much, much smoother. The contractor generally has a much shorter time between when their machine is received and it's installed and running. And also, the energy efficiency kind of cascades a bit. Because we've got a smaller drive and a smaller motor than you would have needed with older technology, your electrical installation costs come down too. Your cabling gets smaller, your main switch gear, and then all the cable runways and traces get smaller too. So there's a cascade effect of energy efficiency that comes from the technology. If you'll click on the link then on this website, it will take you to a YouTube video at the bottom.
Okay, I think I'm going to probably not do that because I'm not quite sure what's going to happen with all these different, one web on top of another. But then that's good to know that there's a, and I did watch some of your videos. I believe it was one in Europe there, which is, by the way, you guys are probably also this week at EFOT exhibiting some of the same things, I imagine, aren't you?
Indeed, we are. The WebTech show will look much, much like the EFOT show in terms of graphics and look and layout.
So before we get off the installation, because you did mention, the contractors that are installing and so forth, what kind of role do you play, once it gets to the plant, and then service afterwards and so forth. Just kind of run us through the complete cycle here.
Well, one of the really neat things about the equipment is that it's supported like any other Atlas Copco kind of compressor. So we provide a full complement of drawings for installation. When the machine's received at site, we'll also work with the contractor at startup to make sure that it's correctly installed, that it's rotating in the right direction, and that all the interfaces to the customer SCADA or DCS are there. So that's a normal part of startup. And because we're using our existing service organization, our guys aren't on a plane necessarily. They're probably in the next town over already because they've got a van nearby. You may not be aware, but about 1 in 3 compressors sold in the world is Atlas Copco branded. Not quite that same level here in the U.S., but we've got a number of technicians, around 300 across the U.S., that can start and operate and provide maintenance of the equipment.
Yeah, and so that's about 4 per state. I mean, that's pretty good coverage.
Yeah, and in the metropolitan areas where the wastewater plants are, typically our coverage is much, much higher.
Sure.
Not so good in North Dakota, but really, really good in Florida.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. And then as well, there's a full complement of service products available. Everything from total responsibility, where we sort of own the equipment. The customer, of course, owns it. But for a fixed yearly price, we'll maintain the equipment, and if anything happens to it, we'll repair it. Of course, barring electric strikes and birds and Mother Nature. But it's truly everything inside the box is the responsibility of Atlas Copco, down to simply providing the parts on a schedule that we set with the customer to meet his needs, or anything in between those 2 levels of service are available.
Now, with all this additional energy efficiency and so forth, is there a substantial increase in the initial price, that capital investment?
No, in fact, for about the same delivered airflow, or the dollar per CFM for an installed machine, is roughly that of a rotary lobe blower with canopy and a separate inverter. So it's about the same capital investment, slightly higher sometimes depending on where we fall within a frame. But in general, that was our target. How can we provide industry a real innovation and then do it in a way that's not cost prohibitive to get it adopted? And that, I think, is a really neat feature of the technology.
Now, you mentioned the screw versus the lobe there. Should we click on that and go through some of the comparison, or what would you suggest would be the next step?
I would say so, and I think it's because rotary lobe tends to have the largest number of installed machines. Now, we're talking about wastewater, but indeed industry and cement and conveying and other industries do use rotary lobe compressors or blowers. The fundamental difference between the 2 technologies is that we're compressing the air internal of the machine, whereas a rotary lobe is more like a gate that just sort of pushes air out, and then the compression occurs actually external. So because we're compressing internally, we provide a better overall efficiency in compression. And because it's a compressor, we've got tighter clearances. We're not running at the discharge temperatures that you would see with a rotary lobe. Therefore, we're able to tighten everything up in the machine. We're able to reduce the amount of slip that occurs in the compressor. So those 2 things couple together to give you primarily the functional difference in efficiency. The rest of it's in the package. We use a high-efficiency motor, a very efficient gear train to deliver the power, and then very large filters with low pressure drop on the intake, and a large silencer and discharge piping to reduce the amount of packaging loss where we can. So all that combines is why the machinery fundamentally provides better efficiency over rotary lobe. Yeah, so if you were to click on the graphics, you would see the compression principle of a lobe element. So it's a small video that would pop up. And like you said before, probably not something you want to do on a static web like this.
Yeah,
and as well, yeah, if you were to page down, you'd see the same how a rotary screw works relative to a rotary lobe,
which is a good recommendation for the viewers.
Mm-hmm.
And anything else you'd like to add here to this interview?
Yeah. So one of the other things that cascades on is the lower discharge temperature really provides an opportunity to maybe change the the piping that's typically used in wastewater. Usually it's steel or stainless, and potentially this would set you up for plastic. At about 10 psi, we're around 70 degrees cooler on discharge temperature than a rotary lobe blower. One of the other cascade benefits that we're a little bit surprised is that our noise levels are much, much lower, and our pulsation levels, of course, are much lower with screw compression than rotary lobe, which means that long-term damage to piping, breaking welds, and those sorts of things are eliminated with screw technology. So it really revolutionizes how people get their low-pressure air delivered to their process. And those benefits that don't seem obvious have been maintenance headaches that have been set up years and years ago, not by choice, but just because there wasn't another way to go. This will potentially put aside some of the special concerns that have to be taken with blower installations.
What experience, I mean, it being new technology and so forth, what experience do you have with it to date?
We've sold nearly a few hundred packages in Europe, and then in the United States we've sold about a half a dozen. Additionally, we've got another handful of sites where we put test machines in. We thought it was important to verify the technology in the field before we go roll it out. That is, to really understand how the marketplace works, and then as well what the needs of our customers are. I don't think it's enough to just provide product. You also need to provide product and support and recognize how that marketplace works, and then be attentive or attuned to adjusting our systems or methods to meet the needs of the market. So it's been quite a learning curve over the last year and a half in the U.S., quietly rolling out the product and understanding the market.
The energy prices are about 3 times as much in Europe as they, or at least twice, probably not 3 times, twice as much in Europe as they are in the United States. So the economics of the lower energy consumption would be more attractive in Europe. But obviously, from what you're saying, since the capital cost per CFM is going to be about the same, that doesn't make this uneconomical in the U.S., even though there is an energy cost.
No, the other part is that money's tighter too. So it's the plant operations, whether it's wastewater or industrial, there's constant pressure on the bottom line to improve efficiency in the plant. And it's not just for the benefit of saving the planet and reducing energy. It's also for the benefit of the bottom line, that the company now could make or treat waste cheaper, or make nails or whatever they're in the business of making, plastics, and do it cheaper. And that has a bit to do with global competitiveness too. So there's farther reaching benefits to energy efficiency beyond just saving energy. It also improves the operation or the bottom line of an operation.
And of course, this is an integral part of biological treatment, and therefore improving the purity of water being discharged by the plant.
Well, right. In long term, about 1% of the water on the earth we can actually drink, and roughly 60 to 80% of the energy to treat waste is used in the aeration of blowers, or the aeration process from blowers.
Right.
So this is attacking kind of the big piece of the pie, if you will, which is your operating cost around electricity. But incidentally, the maintenance costs, we're rolling out now a 5-year warranty on the compression elements, and that's partly because we've had the machinery running long enough in the market that there's really small capital risk for us to increase the warranty, and that puts it in line with what we do in compressors. Additionally, I think it's a harder thing to do with rotary lobe technology, so it creates a bit of a differentiator in the market. But it gives the customer then the benefit of peace of mind that the big cost item in his machine, the screw set, won't be something he'd face in a biannual replacement interval. It's going to be something on a much longer interval, or otherwise I wouldn't have taken the risk on the 5-year warranty.
Sure. Well, that's a pretty impressive warranty.
Mm-hmm.
And I think surety, is something, and reliability is something that every plant is looking for. So something like that's got to be pretty intriguing to them.
Yeah, and I think reliability is the hardest thing to convey. So one of the tendencies with new technology is to shy away. Nobody wants to be first.
Right.
And it's because the fear that, what's going to happen? Well, God forbid that something does happen, but if it does, we do have a service component or capability within the U.S. to support the equipment very, very well. and then the warranty behind it hopefully takes away some of the reluctance people might have that want to improve their process but don't want to introduce new problems to their process.
Yeah, that number of 300 service people already here in the U.S., that's pretty impressive in terms of being able to respond to a problem, right? So
right.
Got them here. Now let's talk a little bit about the show. You mentioned that you'll be running this video at the same time that people will be able to actually see one of the machines. What size machine are you going to have on hand there?
We will have a small one, which is around 18 kilowatt nominally, so it's about the size of a 4x4 pallet, if you will. Yeah. And then we'll have one of our 100 horsepower machines, which is about the size of, say, a good size breakfast table, so about 2 pallets side by side. And then the machines in between, the catalog will be available to show customers the equipment right between. Our largest machine won't be on display, and that was partly because we're sort of sold out of that machine through the end of the year. We didn't think it would take off as well as it has, and we're unable now to really kind of track orders closely. We're having to push lead times out or promise for deliveries out to 4 months.
So talking about 4 months on the largest machine, but sooner, quicker deliveries on the smaller ones.
Right. We're as well. We're stocking some of the equipment. We have now 8 machines in stock here in South Carolina, and then we are increasing our inventory orders on Belgium. The goal is to get to 5 days on delivery from stock, but I think it's still a far-reaching goal for us as a company.
And the one last question that I would have here is if people want to arrange in advance to talk to some of your experts or talk to yourself and so forth, are you going to be at the show, John?
I will. In fact, we'll have 8 people from Atlas Copco. One of the other things I should mention that people will see when they come by our booth is that we have formed an alliance with ITT, which is they own Sanitaire, the fine bubble aeration folks, and of course flight pumps. But we'll be co-displaying. They'll have a booth, their own booth, and they'll have one of our guys sitting on their booth to talk about efficiency and aeration, which includes the blowers. Okay. And then as well, we'll have a small display of theirs on our show and someone from ITT. So the alliance is more that we're 2 companies that are aligned around energy efficiency for aeration, and it's quite a lot to get good, efficient aeration equipment, both from the blowers and the fine bubble diffusers. But there's more to be had by building a controller that operates those 2 systems well, and that's something we're in the process of doing, and we'll go to market together in this alliance. So indeed, I'll be at the show. We'll have enough people to cover the booth. My intention was to walk around a little bit on the last day of the show, but I should be nominally available Monday and Tuesday at the show, or any of our guys.
Yeah, one of the things we visualize being attractive to a wastewater plant operator is he doesn't know exactly when he's got to your booth, but he can be a few aisles over and say, gee, okay, I've ticked this one off the list. The next one I want to go to, or pretty soon I want to go to Atlas Copco.
Right.
And so if he has a mobile phone or something, he can just call over to your booth and say, is someone going to be available in 20 or 30 minutes? So maybe if we can post your mobile phone up on the website when we put up this link to the interview here, and maybe you just might like to give it to us right now too, so we have
sure.
It's
It's I have a Detroit phone number, 248-410-6279. And
I better write that down because I'm going to put that in the things. 248. Then did you say 410?
Yep. 6279.
6279. Okay, well, we'll put that in as well. And I'd like to thank you, John, for a very interesting presentation. And I think you've got a lot of impressive information up on that website with all the videos and everything else. And be able to follow that up at the show will be very helpful to the wastewater treatment people and find out how to reduce one of the biggest energy consumers in the plant by 30%. That's a big achievement.
It is. Thank you very much, Bob.
Okay, John, we'll be talking to you, and have a good show.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.